The challenge has been put to me on Patreon again, and here I am. The question was asked about, do some players get treated differently by referees because of their reputation? Yes. I've got a list of players here, current players, former players, and just look through the names and tell me just what occurs to your mind. And I'm going to go through this quickly. Because referees are human. They're not machines. And they can't see everything. You've got 10 guys on the ice, 12 if you include the goaltenders. You got a lot to watch, and the game moves really fast. So spears, slashes, holds, hooks. These things are called with amazing accuracy, really. And yes, there's the odd call here and there that goes badly. You might get one per game that's a bad call. And it's easy to look up on the board and go, oh, well, on that slow motion instant replay, you can tell. And a referee might look up and go, yeah, all right. But for him at full speed, if he's seeing the play from the back, again, they don't have 360-degree vision. And in some cases, the referee closer misses it because it's away from the play, and the referee at the other end of the ice has to make that judgment call. And believe me, they don't miss anywhere near as much as they used to. Egregious missed calls were absolutely a part of the game before we had all the coverage we have, all the cameras we have. There used to be just one fixed camera during a game, because not every game was broadcast on TV, so you just have the one fixed camera, back, forth, you know, just for highlights after a game's done. Now, Marchand, Kadri, Burrows, Kessler, Ronaldo, Tkachuk, Ovechkin, Tutu, Wilson, Roussel. These are guys that I came up with. I'm like, you know what? These guys are going to get calls against them, and Ovechkin gets kind of both. Ovechkin kind of gets both. He's going to get calls against him that are borderline because of his reputation, because he does have a reputation for late or dirty hits. But when somebody hits him or something happens to him, he's going to get that call in his favor because he is the #1 goal-scoring forward in the last 15, 20 years of the NHL. Perhaps ever, if you really compare numbers. We've been through that before. That's not why we're here. Crosby gets calls both ways. I've seen Crosby get called for penalties, and I'm like, wow, really? But I've also seen times where something happens and a call gets made, and I go, wow, really? And, like, in other words, where a guy will hook him, but not really, or it's phantom, and then suddenly Pittsburgh's on a power play because Crosby fell down. Nobody touched him. And also I've seen it where Crosby's downright mugging a guy and no penalties called. Goes each way with Crosby. And with McDavid, he is entering that realm where he's able to draw penalties because he's Connor McDavid. These things absolutely happen. Matt Cook. I've discussed him before. I might as well discuss him again. He is reviled by a lot of hockey fans, and rightfully so. But his last, I want to say 4 years in the league, he was relatively clean. But anything borderline, you're in the box. Anything borderline, it's going to the league. We're going to review it and see about a suspension. And because it's Matt Cook, it's probably a suspension. Zach Ronaldo's getting into that area now. Matt Tkachuk called aside by the NHL and told basically, here's the deal. You clean this up, or you're going to be looking at some suspensions. You're going to get into that category. And you better believe if the NHL league offices see it that way, so do the referees. Referees are absolutely human. There are players they're going to like on the ice. There are players they are not going to like on the ice. Players that, if referees are completely honest, are going to say, man, that guy is a complete prick. I can't stand him. I don't like him. I hate calling games where he's in them. Because referees are human beings, and they do that. There was a video I did last year which caused some discussion on this topic, which was that referees have a book. Meaning that if I watch it, if I call a game and somebody embellishes on a play and I fall for it and I call a penalty, I'm going to write them down and pass it on to another referee and say, keep an eye on this kid, he embellishes. Embellishment penalties are there. Look at Freddie Anderson. Freddie Anderson gets fined, I think it was $2,000 for a dive. It was a dive, and it wasn't his first dive of the year, but the NHL finally said, all right, we got to call him for this. Now, because Freddie has a reputation for diving, the next time he goes behind the net and legitimately gets tripped, a referee may look at that and go, I didn't really see that much from where I am. And, you know, if it was Martin Jones, Henrik Lundqvist. I'm probably calling that, but man, Freddie got that fine last week. I don't know. Referees have to make those calls, and they have to make them split second. They don't have time to go over during the play and go, was that a penalty? Was that not a, it's a snap decision. And once they've made that snap decision, they got to live with it. Once you raise your arm, thought process is over. You can't raise your arm and then go, no, sorry. No, it's not like raising your hand in class. You go, I don't know I did that. And the only thing that I sometimes take issue with is when the guy falls down, the crowd goes nuts, and then a referee goes, and it's like, wait, you saw the play. You weren't calling a penalty. You hear the crowd reaction, you go, yeah, all right. And I've started seeing that. It seems like it's happening more lately than it ever did before. There have been times where I'm at a Canucks game, or I'm at a Chilliwack game, or wherever, and I'll hear the crowd go nuts, and I'm thinking, you guys aren't going to get him to change his mind about the call. Referee isn't going to go, they don't like me. Like, it's just not the way it works. Fans aren't going to suddenly like the referee for one call. And these players are going to get calls against them based on who they are. These guys from the past, Samuelson, Hunter, Bertuzzi, Simon, McSorley, Downey, Wisniewski, who's going to the Olympics in all likelihood, Torres, Pronger, Marchment, Avery, Tucker, Lemieux, and Linsman. And that Lemieux is Claude. Mario Lemieux, he definitely got preferential treatment from referees. He wasn't that clean a player. Not really. Lemieux played a very physical game. And he could land a punch here and there if he thought the referee wasn't paying attention. He was an aggressive guy. I could have put Lindros on this list too, on both sides. Lindros got calls in his favor, and there were calls against him too, because he's Eric Lindros. And the best example I can think of is the Canucks from 2011, because I always hear people say, well, my team's always killing penalties. The first thought I have is, who's on your team? The Canucks in 2011, when they went to the final and everybody hated them, had Ryan Kessler, Alex Burrows, Max Lapierre, Kevin Bieksa, Rafi Torres, Tanner Glass, and Aaron Rome. Aaron Rome's got a little asterisk, because Rome didn't have a dirty reputation until the hit on Horton. And then it kind of followed him. The rest of those guys, either borderline for Glass. Glass was a tough guy, but borderline in terms of his reputation as a fighter. And there are other guys I left off this list. Alexander Bolduc, he was borderline on some plays. But Torres, definitely a dirty player. Bieksa, tough, but had penalties called against him a lot. Lapierre, dirty player. Burrows, dirty player. Kessler, dirty player. What happens is when you've got a collection like that, and I was not proud to have that collection on the same team, referees will call the game tougher against your team. They look at that lineup and they go, holy crap, they're all on one team. How did they all get on one team? Oh, yeah, this is going to be a rough night. And it can be really difficult when you have a team and you watch, and it's somebody who's not these guys that gets a call against them that he shouldn't. And you're thinking, well, wait, did the referees call that because these guys play on the same? Yeah. They do. Again, referees are human. I know it stinks. I know it stinks if your team is the one with a lot of, or even just a couple. I look at Calgary with Tkachuk. I look at Montreal with Gallagher and Andrew Shaw. And they're going to get calls against that team, and it's just the way referees work. There's going to be, Andrew Shaw has a very short leash. I should have had Shaw on this list too. He's going to have a very short leash, just based on reputation. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And for the record too, since Marchand plays for Boston, I've seen games where Boston gets a lot of calls against them. And maybe it's set up with Marchand, maybe referees are watching Marchand. It's just part of the fact that we have humans calling the game. And there are rules that are open to interpretation, and sometimes certain players get a longer leash than others. But let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, and thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.